That's good. Okay, my dear, the time is yours.
All righty. Hey guys, my name is Whitney Hebel. I am Superstar Director of Simply Grace and Grit. I joined in 2017, which is crazy. But just to tell you a little bit about me and who I am very, very quickly. We just moved to Tennessee. My husband's in the Army. He is just a few years from retiring. I'm a boy mom. I have a 10 and an 8-year-old who are super wild and busy. We have 3 dogs, 2 hedgehogs, 2 fish, and we also foster dogs. So we're a bit of a whirlwind over here. Something's always going on, something's always breaking, something's always happening, right? That's just life. So I think that's just important to say that, this business can be fit in to any schedule or to any lifestyle. I truly believe that. And I just think I love the title of this training because I'm really, really big on self-reflection. You can ask my teammates that, but also prioritizing. That is a huge part of life and business. So everything that I talk about today can be applied to business specific, or you can use it in your daily lifestyle. So the first thing I want to talk about is being intentional. That's super important in our business. As small business owners, we don't have someone coming and saying, hey, you have to be here at 8 o'clock. You need to clock in on time. You need to get this done today. That is all up to us. Okay. That's all up to us to be intentional with our time to make sure that we're getting things done and being successful in our business because we're our own bosses. Amazing, right? But with that comes a few things that we have to be very careful with. So we have to be super intentional with what we're spending our time on, what we're spending our energy on, and what we're letting affect us in our business and in our life, okay? So the first thing is to figure out and ask yourself, what is a priority to you? What is a priority to you in your business? So whether that be promoting, or maybe there's a PRV goal that you want to hit, or maybe it's the incentive. What is important in your business? If you're brand new and you're like, I don't know what's important in my business, I'm not sure what I should be focusing on. We're going to talk about that towards the end. But figuring out what is a priority to you and what is a non-negotiable. My business is a non-negotiable. I know that I have to do a certain amount of work every week to, I don't want to say keep my business afloat, but to have that consistency so I'm not overdoing myself maybe next week instead of this week, okay? So figuring out what is a non-negotiable to you, because if everything is important, that means that nothing is important. And so we really have to dial down on what is important in our business and work on that. So here on the screen, the first thing that I have is to start a master list of things that you do in your business. You can also apply this to your life. But what are the income producing activities, or maybe not income producing activities, that you are consistently doing in your business? I did this and I came to make this daily and monthly task list. So if you scan the QR code, you can take a screenshot of it and scan it from another phone or whatever device you're on. And it's going to bring up my Google Doc that I use. So you're going to have to copy it and edit it to yourself. If you see S, G, and G on there, that's my team name. And just keep in mind that what I'm doing on a daily and monthly schedule may not be what you necessarily need to do depending on where you are in your business. But this is kind of a outline that you can take to make it your own, okay? So we have the daily and monthly tasks. This is something that I keep at my desk. It's laminated, so I go through a Sharpie and check things off. So again, depending on where you are at in your business, this is what I have found that I need to do for my activities in my business, of what's important. So for instance, on Monday, well, every day is a VIP, I post to my VIP group, and I post to my team page. Monday is follow-up day. So that's my intention that day. Tuesday is team day. That means I'm doing a tip Tuesday on my team page. I'm focusing on my team. Okay. And you can see once you go through these, and I'm not going to read everything on here for you because you'll have them here, how I break it down and where I work. Okay. So make that master list. You can use this list and make it your own, but then you're going to break it down into those weekly, monthly, daily tasks. What do I need to be doing monthly, weekly, and then daily? Okay. And it really should be centered around those IPAs, those income producing activities that help with your business to make the income. I mean, let's just be real. So in addition to the master lists of daily and monthly that I use, I also have another rolling list. It's just called a Scentsy to do. And it is ugly. I'm gonna be real honest with you. It's real ugly. I can show you. I don't even know if y'all can see that, but it is literally a note on my phone that has what I'm doing, just a list. And it is literally prioritized from what's most important that needs to be done today to least important. And it's literally called long-term because it's something I want to do, but there's so many other things that are so much more important on it. So on my long-term list, for example, is a new brag tag. I don't like my brag tag that I have right now. I want to make a new graphic for it, but is that something that I need to do instead of focusing on the 5 parties I have going on right now? No. Okay. So the parties are at the top, that new graphic is at the bottom. And the best thing is just to have the rolling list, separate the urgent from the important. And that just means prioritize your list. So next slide. This is the Eisenhower matrix. It is just a breakdown of how to break down that master list. There's so many different ways you can do this, but this is going to tell you what you need to do in what order. So obviously the urgent and important is what you're doing. That's what we're doing today. The urgent but not important, we're going to delegate that to someone else, whether that be your husband, your child, or someone else that's maybe helping you in your business. So that's going to be number 2. And then 3 is going to be not urgent but important. So those are the things that we can plan out or the things that we can work on to do later. And then the not urgent, not important, that's the fluff in our business. So a lot of times in our business, we get really focused on the things that aren't important, that aren't income producing, that are not helping us reach our goals. Okay, so some of those things could be things like graphics, photos, making pretty samples, all of those things. Now, do we use those things in our business? Absolutely. But we have to prioritize the income producing activities, the activities that we're doing to bring us that income, AKA party conversations, host conversations, join conversations, conversations about what's available right now. Those are going to be a lot more important than making the prettiest sample you've ever seen in your life, right? Because we want to put our time into what's important. So you can use this matrix to help you break that down in what's important. There's also the ABC method, which is literally just putting it in order. Okay. But with all of this and everything that I'm talking about today, like I said at the beginning, being intentional is probably the most important thing to do. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, which we all do, I think that also needs to be normalized, that, like Sarah said at the beginning, it's not going to be perfect. It's not ever going to be perfect. And once we realize that it's not going to be perfect, I think that we can take a deep breath and know that our time is valuable and we can put that time where it needs to be then, and just know that all the other things that we have left to do is normal, but we're going to eventually get to it and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Okay. The biggest thing is that you're not letting that overwhelming feeling stop you from doing anything. And that's where, it comes into play that when I'm feeling that I have so much to do and I literally don't know where to start, I go back to my master list, my to-do list, and that's where I break it down. Okay, what do I have to get done today? Non-negotiable. I can't move on, right? And that would be something like my parties. Like those have to be tended to. They have to be scheduled, post out. The interaction has to be there. The hostess coaching has to be there. That's the most important thing, right? And yes, I have a very long list of everything else of things to do, but that priority takes top priority. That priority takes top priority. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. So like I said at the beginning, the question that a lot of new consultants may be asking is, what is a priority? What should I be doing? And that's going to be the next slide, which not taking credit for any of this. There have been many SSDs that have focused. I know Chelsea Auto has done the 3 focuses, is where I believe it started, with sales, sponsoring, and coaching as far as building a big business. Okay. Myself and a few of my directors, we were at leadership at SFR, and we got to thinking after one of our trainings about, you know, it used to be called the 3 legs of success, but in our business, there is an order of things, how they should be done, because some of it takes priority over the others. Okay. So the first thing is going to be the sales, the PRV. And again, you can take a screenshot of this to save. It's a good way to prioritize that master list that you have made. Okay. So first things first, always is going to be sales. Come here. Our foster puppy's up walking around. Come here. Come here. Okay. Sorry. So the first thing is going to be sales. Always, we're starting with sales every single month. We're going to front load those sales for next month. So we're starting off with a bang. And that's where the parties, the bag parties, the home parties, the events, the customer follow-up, Scentsy Club, specials, LTO, all of those things to start with those sales. So once you have those sales in place and you're in a spot where you have, at least you know where your sales are coming from. If you're a leader, 500 is your minimum. We like to have that by the 5th in our group as a goal. Because as a leader, you have so many more things to be working on. But if you're not a leader, but you want to be, then the next thing is going to be sponsoring. If you're a consultant and you're not interested in anything else except for sales, that's going to be your main focus for the entire month. Okay. So after your sales, you're going to move on to sponsoring. That's going to be, again, the second step. So you're going up this ladder. We aim for 2 teamies a month for a big business, one join convo a day, 7 a week, 30 a month, however you want to look at it to make it doable for you. Okay. And then there's examples under that. And then the last step is going to be coaching that team if you're a leader. Okay. So training, using coaching systems, challenging downline, just having that connection with them and checking in with them. But the most important are the sides that hold the ladder all together, because if you don't have the sides, you don't have a ladder, which is going to be your self-care. And that needs to be a priority too on your master list. Okay. So that's where setting boundaries come in with your team, having the business hours for yourself. If you don't want to be working at 12 at night, then you shouldn't be working at 12 at night. How are we going to make a plan so you're not working at midnight? Okay. Now, if that's when you do your best work and you love it, and that's just like your jam, awesome, do it. But no one else can decide that but you. But that self-care comes in where we're going to say, this is what I'm going to work on in my business. This is what I'm going to do for myself, for my body. The biggest one that I've been really big on here lately is the third one down, feed your brain, podcast, books, trainings, being careful of what you're allowing in your brain, what you're allowing in your space, what you're allowing in your vibe. Because if I don't get a good vibe, I don't want any part of it, right? And that affects me to have my self-care to be able then to pour into my business, okay? It's all connected. So the ladder of success is just an example of everything we're talking about today, prioritizing in your business, okay? So if you're not sure where to start, you start with those sales. You start with that PRV, make a PRV goal, right? So for some people, it's going to be 500. For some people, it's going to be 5,000. Again, we're small business owners. We get to decide what we're going to do. And sales is the first thing in your business that you can control. What you put in, you're going to get out. What trainings you put in to learn about how to get sales is what you're going to get out. So if you're not sure where to start, this is your go-to on what to do. And then that self-reflection part. So every single day of every single week of every single month of every single year, we're doing self-reflection. So a lot of that is self-reflection on our goals. So at the beginning of every month, we ask our team, what are your goals? Well, part of having a business is that you need to go back and look at those goals. If you didn't print them out and post them where you can see them, how did you do on those goals? What did you accomplish? What do you need more help in learning about? Having that self-reflection and having that intentionality to say, this is what I need to do better, or this is what I need to do different, right? For me. And all of this to say to avoid burnout, right? So we are, like I said, beginning, we're in a different, spot than a lot of people are in a job, because like I said, we don't have a boss, or we don't have someone exactly telling us what we should do or shouldn't do, what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. So it's really easy to get to that burnout stage. And that's what we're avoiding by having this master list, by having this prioritization, by having these focuses of the ladder of success to keep us on track. And again, knowing that we're going to always, pretty much always fall off that track at some point, but it's to that point where we have that intentionality to bring it back to say, this is where we need to do, and we're going to go through these steps of figuring out what's important and what's not. Again, all of this can go to your home life, right? So if you have kids, obviously they're the priority, always coming first. If you have a dog, maybe that's your priority, right? So figuring out in your home life, here are the things that need to be done at our house. We're going to prioritize those things. And you have to make the decision, is spending time with your family more important, or is making 20 samples more important, right? Or maybe both are important and we're going to work on it together. We're going to do family time making samples, right? So there's ways to stay on track and to get over that. But the most important thing is that you don't let that feeling of being overwhelmed and that burn and getting to that burnout to stop you for what you're doing in your business. And that is all I have.
Getting everything unmuted. All right. Thank you so much, Whitney. That was fantastic. I don't know about anybody else, but I sure was taking some notes because I need to prioritize, and I probably need to reflect. So I would like to start there, if we may. As you're looking back on that reflection, as you're looking to see, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what do I need to tweak? Where do you start? Once you've decided, all right, these are the things, how do you just, without being mean to yourself, but like, how do you take that next first step to be like, ooh, I feel short here, or I can do this better next time? What's kind of your process that you go through with that reflection piece?
I think honesty is really important to yourself. So not necessarily being mean to yourself, but being able to have that honesty. I think also in this business is accountability. You have to keep that accountability with yourself, and maybe have an accountability partner to help you with that, to be like, no, girl, like, this is not what we're doing today. We're doing this, right? And thankfully I have that. I have many accountability partners where that's, again, where you surround yourself with like-minded people, where you keep the accountability of listening to those podcasts and those trainings, of keeping you on track on what's important. As far as figuring out what you should do better, I think that goes back to your goals. Okay, did we meet this goal? No, that's okay. If you meet your goals all the time, then they're not big enough, right? So you're not going to meet the goals every single month. But did you make good progress to it? And deciding, what am I going to do different next month to then reach that goal? So if it's a PRV goal, say your goal is 1,000 and you got halfway there, you're 500. That's awesome. That's something to celebrate for sure. But if your goal is 1,000, what else can we do to reach that 1,000? Maybe book 2 more parties than we did last month, right? Or maybe be consistent with our our customer emails, just stuff like that, where we're saying, we're taking all these things we're learning from the trainings and the podcasts and all of those things, and we're implementing it into our business, and being honest with ourselves to say, we have to take that next step. Yeah.
you have a sign behind you that says grace. And so I think that, give yourself some grace, give yourself the space to think
Yes.
about what's going on and what you can do to maybe make some changes. I think you touched on two really good points there, progress and consistency. So as you're starting to look at how you're prioritizing, how you're getting things done on a task list, how you're reflecting back at the end of the year, look at where you made progress. What were you doing when you were successful? Air bunnies. What were you doing when you were making progress? What were you doing when you had consistent follow-up or consistent sales, those kinds of things? So look back at those actions, those activities, those behaviors that you were doing when things were working great. And keep doing those, keep being consistent, keep making that progress. And then if you fell short somewhere else, you're like, oh man, this is really an opportunity for me to try something different. What was that? And then, listening to what Whitney was saying, like, take an honest look back, like, did you do everything you needed to do? Maybe not. So it's just being honest with yourself, but of course, showing yourself that grace. I wanted to touch on self-care too. You had it on the bottom of your slide there. It's giving the best of you, not what's left of you. And so often I think we fall into that where sometimes our very much loved ones get what's left of us at the end of the day. And maybe we're doing this for them. So how might you prioritize that self-care, that family time, even when you have a very long to-do list? Some recommendations I fell like really far into the planner community over the last couple of years. Like there's lots of different planning techniques out there, but what I've seen a lot of the different ones do is having a top 3. So Whitney, you mentioned looking at like an ABC level or a 1, 2, 3, starring them or color coding. Like if you're a different color, your kid's schedule, spouse or partner schedule, Scentsy schedule, work schedule, just to kind of plot it out. If it helps to do an hourly basis, time block that out. What are your top 3 things that must be done today? What are your non-negotiables? So does that help? Do you use something similar as you're plotting things out with, now you have your systems for daily and monthly, but when you're sitting down at the end of the day for the next day that's coming or first thing in the morning, do you go through something similar as you're trying to prioritize what comes first?
Absolutely. So that's the rolling list that I have. It's just the Scentsy to-do note in my phone. And sometimes, a lot of times, pretty much every day, I even put things that need to be done at home on that Scentsy to-do list because I know that's where my focus is. So I know that it will get done if it's on the Scentsy list. Yeah. Because sometimes, there's things at home that need to be done, errands that need to be run, but that's going to be just as important as what I'm doing in my business. So definitely prioritizing and literally just separating it from everything else on the list is what I personally do. Everything's on my phone because I'm always on the go, so I can always reach it there. And if you're a planner person, I know, using the color code is huge. Same thing for my calendar. So everything is in my calendar, but you can see that literally everything is color coded between my husband's schedule, the kids, purple is Scentsy, like everything is, everything has a spot. Yes. And as far as self-care, I just think it's, I listened to a training the other day, and she was talking about how part of self-care, is not just the bubble baths, and it can be, that the things that make you feel better, but it is also those things that you're pouring into yourself, because we can't pour from an empty cup. And I know it's so easy to do, to get wrapped up in the business, to then, take maybe your frustration out on your family or your kids, like it happens. But knowing that they are the reason why you're doing this, and that's not it, right? So putting your phone in another room. I leave my phone upstairs all the time. When the boys are home, they get off the bus, like that is why I do this. So I can pick my kids up from the bus. So I'm here when they get home every single day. Do I want them to come home with me on my phone? No, that's not the intention. And it's hard, but that's when I put it in another room. I don't see it. I have all notifications turned off all the time on my phone. And I have to do that to be able to be present with them, because they are the reason why I do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I like that term you use, being present. And so when you're prioritizing your time and prioritizing your task list, you're being present with what you're working on. You're being present with family, you're being present with your team, you're being present with customers, you're being present with housework, your full-time job if you work outside the home. So wherever you're focusing, you're being present there. A method I've seen be really helpful that goes along with that to-do list is just to have a brain dump page. Like as things pop into your head, we have a tendency of getting distracted or squirreling. Like we went into one room to load laundry and then we decided we needed to vacuum, clean out drawers and all the other things, right? So if you are being present and you're working on your list and you're in an activity and something pops in your head, if it's a notebook, if it's a Post-it, whatever, just have a brain dump area where you're like, I need to jot this down. I need to deal with this at some point, not right this second. And sometimes maybe it is, maybe you need to go do something or dogs need to be let out or someone's at your door or whatever. But if you start to squirrel and if you start to think, oh, I got to do this, and this, put it on a brain dump list. And then part of that reflection at the end of the day, so not just the end of the year or the end of the month, but the end of the day, take 5 minutes, look over your to-do list, see what you got done for the day, see what got pushed back, and maybe those become your top 3 for the next day. So reflecting isn't just about what went wrong or what went right. It's really like, okay, where do I need to focus next?
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, do you do something similar, Whitney? Like at the end of the day, do you kind of have a check-in with yourself or like, I'll move that to tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely. And that's where it just gets moved down to that second section of the list. And I saw in the chat, someone was talking about loving the top 3 that you just mentioned. I think something I didn't mention that I think is super important with prioritizing, or maybe even just the task you're doing in this business, is the mini tasks, those little things that are going to make a big difference in the long run if you're doing them consistently. So when you look at something like my daily task, like it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish things a day, but 3 of those things are literally just reminding me to post on a page. That can be done ahead of time, right? So when you look at something like that and it may be daunting, really breaking it down to where you can work it. So same thing with the join conversations, right? So we say 30 a month. Okay, that's a lot of conversations. Okay, but what about 1 a day? So breaking it down to where those mini habits consistently are going to lead up to those big actions. And then, like I said at the beginning, if everything's important, then nothing is important. And we have to really realize what are, if it's 3, if it's 6, if it's 2, maybe it's 1, maybe you only have time to do 1 thing in your business a day. What is that 1 thing going to be, right? And really focusing on it and completing it.
Yeah. There's someone I follow on Instagram. She said, do 1 thing today that's going to make life easier for you tomorrow. So is that setting, doing the coffee pot the night before, or setting out your clothes for the kiddos or yourself the night before, just something that, because the more you're carrying, it's going to get really heavy and then something's going to drop. You're going to have to let something go to lighten the load. So what can you do to help you out? So think about those things as you're prioritizing and reflecting. Think about what can you do today to make things a little bit easier. And maybe it's those really easy, like, the low-hanging fruit. I can just do this. It takes me 10 seconds. It's going to save me so much time and stress in the morning if I just do it now before bed.
Yeah, meal planning. That's a big one in our house. Like if I don't meal plan on Sunday, I don't know if we'll eat dinner that week because it's not going to happen. I can't decide what's at dinner at 5 o'clock during the week. That's just not how my brain works. So that's something that's a non-negotiable every single weekend, and, having that Walmart pickup where you put everything on there, you just go by and pick it up. You're not going around the grocery store buying all the things you don't need to do. Like that is very applicable to our business where, if we just do the meal plan and have the Walmart pickup and go pick it up, that saves us so much time between trying to figure out a meal last minute during the week to walking around the grocery store, buying all the junk, like all of those things lead up to and can be solved with just having that meal plan. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned the non-negotiables. That's something like to plot out. So maybe on a Sunday or first thing Monday morning, whenever you're getting ready to plot things out, or the first part of your day, or the first couple, or evening before you go to bed, just to plot everything out, get it out of your head, down on paper, so you can start the next day fresh. I want to say it was the tail end of October. We had a training call called Carve carve out time for tasks. And Jerry Spry was one of the presenters on there, and she talked about those non-negotiables. What do you have to get done? You know, you have to get food made for your children or your families. You know, you have to get the kids to school. You know, maybe if you have a work, like if you're time blocking, these are non-negotiable. So if it helps to plot out what absolutely positively has to be done, those are non-negotiables. I need to take 15 minutes every morning of absolute quiet and journal, or do yoga, or whatever that happens to be. But what is non-negotiable in your day, in your week, that you must get done with family, with your job, with your spouse, your partner, your kids? What are those top 3? And maybe you just have top 1. She talked about, she and Allison Dalkey had talked about doing Sunday 7, where you have these 7 categories that you plot out, and those are your non-negotiables. Those are the things that have to be done that week. So that might help out. But if you're interested in that, you can check that out. It's on the workstation in the October training section. Let me see. We've got a few minutes left. Let me run through some questions here and see what we have. Let's see. Yeah, Lacey agrees with the meal plan. For sure. Crystal said, I've been feeling burned out for a while, and I think a lot of us can relate to this. The last couple of years have been a lot. And she said, I've really let it get out of hand. I feel so overwhelmed with so much to catch up on, or even knowing where to start. So do you have any advice on just baby steps, small steps? Where can you start if you're looking, when you have that feeling of overwhelm? Where do you start?
Start with one thing. Pick one thing on that list, or maybe one thing that you know that has to be done, and get it done. I'm a procrastinator to the point where I think it's more like my anxiety, where I'm like, that's going to take forever. But then when I do it, it took 5 minutes. I'm like, why did I take so long to do that?
Yeah.
I think you should just start with one thing. Do one thing in your business today within the next hour of when you get off this call. And you're going to realize that, one, it probably didn't take as long as you needed it to, but then you're going to be able to say and have that relief to check it off. I'm a big list person. So if I can take stuff off my list, like, that makes me feel really good.
Well, yeah. And then you get like a dopamine rush because you have that completion, and then that's going to motivate you to do even more.
Yeah. So of the things that you need to catch up on, make that master list. And that may be overwhelming, but then go through that list and just pick one thing to do today, and then do one thing tomorrow. And eventually you're going to get back into that schedule of doing things. And again, use that ladder of success where you can say, in my business, what's most important? If you don't have the sales, that's where we need to start. We need to go book a party. We need to go send a customer email. We need to do those things that are going to bring us back what we're looking for, as far as income or getting things done. So yeah, I would just say start small, because if you're like, I need to do all these things today, and you know that it's not realistic, then you're probably not going to do any of them. And that's where, again, it comes into where if everything's important, nothing is important. And we have to figure out, what is that one important thing that has to be done today? Do that. And then tomorrow we'll start a new day. Maybe we'll pick something else up.
Yeah. And we get that analysis paralysis, and we're so overwhelmed that we don't even start. And then we sit down and watch a whole season of Yellowstone. Exactly. And then we feel bad about ourselves. And then we need to show ourselves some grace and know that today's a new day. We can try something different. We can make our bed. There's my thing. I can scrub a toilet. There's another thing. Yes. I can call a customer. There's another. You just start chipping it away. Just start small.
And just know that if you did watch the whole season of Yellowstone yesterday, amen. I love it. But that was yesterday. Today's a new day, and you get to change that. I know that a lot of us, I see it in the comments, deal with anxiety. I do too. I'll be completely honest. I am medicated for anxiety. That's where we're at. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to stop me from providing my boys' future. And so I think that's the magnitude of it. And knowing that, we can still work our business with some serious anxiety. And the more you do, the action you take, it's going to lead to more action. Yeah. So yeah,
don't celebrating along the way too, because you have that cycle of the belief, yeah, I can do this today. And then you're going to take action. Yep. And then you're going to see those results and like, all right, okay, I see that I did this. That's going to give you more belief that you can do more. You can do it again, and you can keep going and making your list.
We talk about that like a lot with our new consultants going live, and they're like, I can't go live. I'm like, go live. you'll do it, you'll realize that you didn't die, and you'll be able to do it again. So
Mhm,
just small
mhm.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rosanna, she said, how do you know how to prioritize what? I have a hard time with what to do to make the most important. So you said if everything's important, nothing is important. We know that family, job, Scentsy, right? So if I go back to those other, the Sunday 7, right? You might have family, friends, faith, finances, health, rest, and work. Everything's important. But where do you start? So you may not have a top 3. You may have a top 1 every day for all of those, or this is your day that you're looking at finances. This is your day that you're, maybe Sunday is faith day, whatever that happens to be. But you have to, going back to those other slides that Whitney had, if you're looking at your prioritization of family, your prioritization of your job, your prioritization of your Scentsy business, you know where you can start, depending on where you need to work the most. And then just start whittling it away one at a time. I do have one other thing to share really quickly here. One thing I didn't dive into, I'm going to go back to these slides here real quick. The actual asset that we're recommending this week. So you can see this on this slide here with the learning plan, but we have a lesson in the workstation called Stressed, Just Breathe. And it's a really cool, it's just a 5-minute video, but we talk through different ways to handle stress. And one of the biggest things is to do squared breathing. So when you start to feel really overwhelmed and stressed out, you're like, oh my gosh, or you're sitting in traffic, or you just kind of feel this pressure, you kind of need to reset your brain a little bit. You're having this bioreaction where your heart's racing, your brain is just going a million miles an hour. Take a breath. In fact, take 4 of them. So you're going to inhale for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. And then you do this 4 times, and it's called squared breathing. And it really helps to reset that bioreaction and to calm things down just a little bit. But there's also a really cool little practice worksheet on there that helps you work through some things and helps you realize what to do when you get stressed, to kind of recognize those triggers and what you're looking for. So as you're thinking about reflection, that might be something to look at. Like, how do I handle stress? How can I do better next time? All right, let me make sure I have all of these. Yeah, guys, and I think burnout it's a real thing. And I know the last couple of years have been a lot. So just take the time to figure out where you want your focus to be in a brand new year. Jennifer said, I'm already wrapping up 2022. I want to organize my space. It's a mess. I'm going to organize my space. I'm going to reflect. I'm mailing Christmas postcards to everyone who ordered, and that is my last priority for December. I'm going to restart organized and ready to go in January. So just like tomorrow is a new day, January is a new month.